So I am not. So
Oh
share.
my gosh. Oh my god. Also, when Dakota had recently passed, early on, I started just watching Gaia TV and started really falling upon people who have really done the framework on life after death.
Yeah.
Where do you go when you die?
Yeah.
I was ultra curious. I thought I knew, but like I wanted to know. So I started researching and watching movies and documentaries. The acceptance when I had to walk up the steps, the way I saw his body, the way I took care of him, the way that I went back to work suddenly, the way that I started having these connections.
Yeah.
You came into my life. Trisha came in. I had Dakota medicine. When I didn't shut down, when I didn't disconnect with that soul transitioning at all, I have a very different story that I want the world to see. What if this is also possible for you? Because when you let that door hit you of grief, it closes. It's a continuum that I think where I'm working with him, he's part of all this stuff happening because I was so adamant of never being separated from the soul. And to be open to loving him without form. I kept saying it on day 2 when he was here. I got to learn how to do love without form, love beyond boundaries, love beyond like the outcome you never saw coming.
Absolutely.
I never said, I feel guilty. Why did he do this? Why did this happen to me? I wanted it from a very innocent perspective. What does this mean?
Yes.
Whoa,
yes.
I get impermanence all of a sudden. Like I went from this to this, but I never lost the connection of all the soul work I was doing leading up to that transition in my life.
Yeah.
So part of my message is when you're handed something, everything you were doing up to that point, up to that what seems like a wall or a door, which it's not, very permeable. That's what I want people. You walk right through it. They think it's a brick wall, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, everything you were doing, that's why it's important to do the soul work at some point sooner than later.
Absolutely.
Because you need all that. You need all that when you're in it, when you're in whatever it is that your soul that you signed up to live out in this lifetime.
That's right.
And so if you don't, you have to go through that and soul work at the same time.
Yeah, and
you
that's
hard.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a lot harder. So
I know what you've been through. I mean, we both know what each other has been through, and that's kind of where I'm at right now, because now since the last time that you and I spoke, I've hooked up with Jerry Marzinski. And Jerry Marzinski is a renowned schizophrenic psychologist, and he worked in the prison system for, oh my God, I don't know, 40 years, 30, 40 years, since the 60s, 70s, okay? And he's retired, and guess what? He lives here in Tucson, Arizona, too.
Oh my God.
I know. Right?
Oh my
okay,
gosh.
so
yeah.
So I sent him a letter with all of the information, and I just said, I need you on my team. I need you in my life. I just please evaluate, what I'm sending you, and would you be interested in working with me? Well, he called me the day that you did the Reiki treatment on me. And I was not ready for that. I was not ready for that. And you know what happened? So after you and I talked that day, and you said, just take the time to resonate with the treatment, because something literally broke apart in a good way when you did that Reiki treatment on me. I felt like there was a lot of melting away of a lot of garbage and toxicity. And so he called me again at 7-ish that night, and I was asleep. I was still asleep from my nap after the Reiki treatment. And then the next thing I know, I ran out here to see who called, because I don't have a special ring for him. And I saw it was him, and I took my phone in my room because everyone else in the household was asleep, and I called him, and he was awake, and he was waiting for me. And what happened was, while I was calling him, he was calling me, and I had to hang up and answer his call because we were connecting at that very same moment. And this was on 8/8 Lionsgate Day.
Yep. Yep.
Now,
Yep.
that isn't a wake up call right there. And I say that to infer it's not a Freudian slip. It is a 8-8 Lionsgate wake up call, and Jerry and I ended up staying on the phone for like 2.5 hours. And I told him, he asked me a lot of questions, and we talked and talked and talked. And he gave me some information that I'm currently working on. And you want to talk about when the master, when the student needs a mentor, they show up. Well,
Yep.
here I am he's an awesome human being, first of all, but to be mentored by him at this point now has just been nothing but a tremendous gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm learning so much. And so I'm having to, we have to do the work, and thank God for the slow work that I was able to do. Okay.
Yep.
Prior to, and like you
Yep.
said earlier, when you have the travesty, in my case, my son murdered his girlfriend and that committed some very heinous acts upon her after she was dead. And and he told me about it, of course, and that was not, as a mother, an easy pill to swallow, because it was very ugly, and it was very frightening, and it was very scary to even think that my son was even capable of doing that. But also understanding that he's schizophrenic, and I am the mom of the schizophrenic. And I am not ashamed to say that, because I know that it's not genetic. I know that it is not a disease. And I have swept it under the rug, Julie. I have hidden it from the family. I have hidden it from everyone. Even my other two sons didn't even know about it. When I told them about it on the telephone, when Donovan was going through, all the cases, they said, that's the first time I've ever heard that Donovan was a schizophrenic. And I said, well, now it's time for you to hear the truth. But
Right.
they don't really speak to me about it, and that's okay. That's their thing. I don't care. What I care about is getting the message out there that we are all in a place in this world today as moms, of dealing with these kinds of traumas and crises. And if we don't hold ourselves up, and we don't start spreading the message of the pain and anguish, and be the leaders that we are here to be brought to do the work that we need to do for the public, then who are we really? And like you said, we can't allow depression. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you I wasn't depressed, because my God, I mean, there were times I couldn't go from my bedroom right there to the kitchen over there without falling and collapsing on the floor. And to even look at knives in my kitchen, because he stabbed her 15 times. And to even look at knives in my kitchen for months, I couldn't even touch a knife, even though I know that those knives didn't even have anything to do with her murder. It's the process of elimination of the trauma of what you hear, and all of that you have to go through. And that's why I defined where I was at as the dark night of the soul. How much darker can you get? No different than you in your dark night of the soul. And you have a choice as a parent when you have a child that's going through this kind of thing, because you love your kids no matter what, even with all the stuff that's going on. Your situation is different, but in relatively speaking, they're the same in so many ways from a spiritual realm, when we're mothers and we're trying to deal with all of these things that are going on with our families, right? And that's where I broke down, and I developed this term. It's like the density is like walking through jello. You can see there's a color to it, but you're trying to move through it, and it's like slow motion, and you can't get through it. It's terrible. And I know that your story, when you talk about when you found out when your son's girlfriend called you and said what had happened, and you immediately got in your car and you went to the crime scene. And when you talk about going up the stairs, I can't even imagine in your mind how slow motion that was.
It was an out of body experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was definitely, I was already out of body. It's very much like astral projected at that moment. Because you embody spirit so suddenly. Like, I mean, not, like you just do. Yeah, like instantly, that's right. And I just want to say that, what's interesting is you were describing like not being able to get out of bed, and like, you still have to have those experiences because we're human going through this. And you're absolutely right. Those are the things. But what I'm hoping to help people in this very fast timeline that we're in is have them and let it be an experience, but keep moving through the thickness. Yes. Don't stay stuck. Don't be depressed in one part of it, you know, because I'm not denying the pain and the sadness, but you got to move through it, just like you were visually giving us. Like, you have to move through it. You have to keep going, because it's a permeable wall. Yes. It's something you go through. It is, if you think it's a brick wall, it's not. It's permeable. So you've got to go through the energy of it in order to transcend.
Yes, in order is energy. Yes.
Yeah, density. So when we're having a shared understanding with, like, the people that are going to watch this, yes. But what happens with, like, the grief process or some of the counseling framework of the old paradigm is they would say it's okay to stay right there and spend as much time as you need in that real dark energy and marinate in it, and it's okay to be stuck in guilt for as long as you need. I'm saying I'm saying work through that, breathe through that, get through that night, keep coming forward. Yes. Keep transcending, because look at where you are today. That there is the karmic life purpose behind it all. There is a destiny to be had. There is divine alchemy.
Yes.
That
I love that. Place. Divine alchemy. Oh my God, the alchemization. So when I was going through my process, because mine happened in 2020, Donovan told me about the murder on the 27th of April. His birthday was on the 24th, and it appeared that he had murdered her between the 23rd and the 25th of April. Okay, so with that being said, when he told me on the 27th was the day that my life completely changed forever and ever and ever. Amen. Right. And what happened is the trauma and the shock of what I knew he did, okay, was so impactful that when I told my story outside of the people that I needed to communicate with right away, and then I ended up going to the police in Arvada, being believed that really happened was a different story, even though I knew that it did from a spiritual perspective, because I knew my son. I knew about his mental illness of schizophrenia. I knew that he had committed the crime. But to get in that middle of COVID, soon after it had been worldwide, spoken about, and now everybody's on lockdown, nobody was doing anything because nobody knew what to do. Everything in that world was so dense, nobody was moving. So imagine walking through the most thickest part of the jello, like, that really super hard jello, that you just like have to almost claw through. That's where I was. And I could, and the thing is that I don't even know, honest to God, there are months that went by, Julie, I don't remember. I just can relate. I can relate. I know you can. And because I look back and I'm like, I can't even fathom the time frame of Dakota, spending time with his body, making those decisions where I look back and first of all, it feels eons, which is weird. I know, right? I have gaps in the understanding the importance of it. Like the things that happened, I don't even remember being in body. That's how I know I was astral projected through most of it, because I don't have a memory of it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, and your situation now, with all due respect, he's been gone for how long now? 4 months? Is it 4 months? Yeah. So that's a great question. First of all, I'd like to say that time stopped with Dakota, and I don't even have a concept. I know there's mothers that are like, my child's been gone X amount, this, and I don't have a recollection. I just know it was March 20th, 2021.
but the time between now and then, I still don't even know what day it is. I know we had a gateway portal. I know some stuff's coming, which we can get into in December, the 12 coming up.
Yes.
There's some things going to happen, but
Yes.
so everything happens in number codes to me now.
Yes.
So I've shifted this identity of like, I know numbers, but I don't know time. So that's what's really interesting. And all the in between, I'm just like,
I know.
So, but March 20th. So March 20th. So that would be March to April to May to June to July to August. Like, we're not even at 5 months.
Yeah.
We're not even at 5 months yet.
Julie, you have come so far. I mean, you honestly are such an amazing woman. And we've been working together now for about 2 months, because I think I met you right at that 3 months time frame when my niece introduced me to you. And so what a gift, what a gift, what a gift. I just, every time I think about how we came together, it was so spiritually united. But I want to get back to the alchemy part of it, because I've always believed in alchemy. I've always believed in the transition of energy, and that, you know, everything moves and it cleanses and it purifies itself within the earth, within the sky, and within the rain, and everything alchemizes all together. Everything that's what's going on in every spectrum of the universe, and every spectrum of the dimensions that we're in. And that as women and as mothers that have went through these transitions, I know I am floating and walking. And I say floating and walking because I'm still a three-dimensional. My soul resides in my body. I'm still three-dimensional, but I know where I'm at from a dimensional space. And I know that I have a question for you, because I really want to get this out there, is that when you had that transition yourself, and you knew that you were walking in that other dimension, and, you know, you have to let go of so much toxicity, and you have to let go of judgment, and you cannot absolutely care what other people think. You just know that this is what has happened to you, and this is your journey, and this is where spirit wants you, and this is your message that you have to get out there. And when I hit that place a few months ago, because I hadn't been out there, and I had to admit some things. I had to admit that my son had schizophrenia. I had to admit what I was going through. And I got pneumonia. Remember when I told you about my pneumonia? In both my lungs, it was like, okay, that's where my grief was sitting, was in my lungs, and my vocal, my chakra, my throat chakra was closed, and I couldn't talk about it. But then when I met you and everything started to unfold, and I really realized I still have some more work to do, then all of a sudden, I met Jerry Marzinski. I'm working with Kirsty McIntosh, who is a forensic astrologer. I reached out to Robert Phoenix, who is a mundane astrologer, and I called him up and I said, I need a down and dirty reading, and he told me exactly where things were, and I needed all of this together. And then all of a sudden, everything just starts falling together, and like you said. And then the alchemization started unfolding. And look, I mean, we really didn't even plan for this call today. It was kind of like a last minute thing. And here we are having this fabulous conversation. And, you know, I have to step back and say, with alchemization and with, you know, this kind of psychopathy and sociopathy with schizophrenia, I'm kind of walking into a world of a different realm, but I've been there. See, I've been living it with my son for so many years. So this isn't new for me, but for people who don't know me and don't understand, I have really been walking with this on my shoulders all of almost Donovan's life, because Donovan was diagnosed with schizophrenia when he was 12. Okay. And he's been in and out of trouble his whole life. He was a methamphetamine user. He was in prison off and on he's 44. He was in prison off and on for 27 years of his life. And in order to tell my story, I have to come clean with what I've been dealing with as a mom. And it's been a painful journey. So naturally, with your loss physically of Dakota and the transition that he made, my son is still alive, but I lost his soul. And I can't even say in comparison, what difference is that to losing a child physically to losing a soul of a child.
I know.
That's where I'm coming from, is like when you get these demons and these other things that kind of come in and take over a body, because when a person does these kinds of acts, they're feeding the demon. They have no control. And with schizophrenia, and you're so weakened with the methamphetamines, so the education goes different. So you and I are going different directions, but yet we're going the same direction, because I believe, I know with my legal background and all of the other things, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the world to share our information so that other people can alchemize their pain and realize that they're not alone, and start speaking out more and more and more about these kinds of tragedies. Don't you agree?
That is I agree 100%. I had just said that yesterday. I came across a family friend who had not seen me since he had heard the news, and he looked at me and he said, "I'm so sorry, you must be devastated." And I looked at him and I said, "I believe in life after death. I'm actually walking my purpose." And he looked at me and he never expected that kind of an answer. And I said, the thing that I'm living out in this timeline, my tragedy, my dark night of the soul, the thing that is mine to hold, be in, and do something with. I said, the biggest ask of me only has one thing on the other end of that, and that is for me to anchor in a better humanity.
Yes.
The big collective. That is the only thing comparable to this that has been handed to me. And I have a diligence, a divinity, a diligence, and to bring this process forth. And we all, I'm not special. I'm not special. Don't we all have this same alchemy process, which is what I want to get out there and say is what we're doing is the same thing you should be doing, and looking at and doing this place of non-judgment but betterment.
Right. No matter what the situation is.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is. It doesn't have to be as tragic as what we've gone through. It's the fact that we have to become awoke. We have to become mindful of everything that is going on around us, because we're all being affected by the trauma of so much. Look what happened last year. We're still in the residual effects of that. And everybody has been affected by this. We have to alchemize the energy. We have to continue moving through the jello. We have to continue moving through the density of all of it. I have something I have to ask you, because I need to know I'm not alone on this, because I'm just got truth bumps all over me. I'm just permeating with all of this wonderful information. Julie, when you jumped from the third dimensional being in the soul transition of yourself, knowing the knowingness of knowing that you were being called to do this work, do you find it sometimes challenging to jump from the third dimension to the eighth dimension on a constant basis, and then before you know it, you've got all these things done and you don't really know what part of the house that you're in, or you don't know, and all of a sudden you see yourself and you just know spirit is working through you and you're doing all of this work, and then you get the occasional, God, you're such an amazing human being and you're doing all of this, I don't know how you're doing, and yet I guess the message is do you find yourself doing that, and then you find yourself saying, but you can do it too, because as long as you're walking in spirit and you allow spirit to work through you, time doesn't matter. It's happening in a moment, in the now. But the jumping back and forth, like when your dog needs to be fed, or your cat needs to be fed, or you need to make dinner, or you have to eat food to nourish this human body of, do you find that happening all the time?
All the time. That's why sometimes it's like I think I even did it in this. I'm like, I have to put in context that I'm in between different things and I'm doing all these things and I'm not even sure that it makes sense the way it used to, because that third dimensional would have been like, did I set it up on my computer? Did I make sure this? Yep. No, I'm in it. I am in a timeline of just being like, aware of this is now. I'm in constant now.
Yes.
and constant awareness of popping in the now.
Yes.
Not linear. Third dimension is very linear. Like
yes.
1 + 1 = 2. No, 1 + 1 still equals 1.
Yeah.
The greater consciousness of the two individuals having the same idea of one perspective. But see, that's the whole idea. That's why I agree. And I'm just like, I tell people, so like tomorrow's Monday, I have to go back to my third dimensional job, which I really don't fit in. And I'm there actually doing fifth dimensional work to all the people who now have like come to me for guidance and light and all this like stuff. But I'm like, because there's so much blurring of the no time. Some people, you know, the world is kind of doing that fifth dimensional, but being up in the eighth and the ninth. So we were advanced, right? We were advanced spiritually when the world was very congealed and being stuck. We were the one that were doing the prayers, that were holding the light, like still understood what was going on. Holding the space. And now that world's going into fifth, the light workers are up in the eighth, the ninth to 10th, because that's how we keep ascending. That's how we don't need to make that jump. But so fourth is pretty much dissolved almost for everyone. And I just always, and we're still learning how to conceptualize no time. So you just kind of jump into present moments now. It's constant present moments of now. And spirit is like just putting people, instant manifestation, clearing of the cobwebs,
boom.
Instant manifestation. That's why Reiki is so great for people right now, because it clears out that karmic cobwebs and that energy, and then boom, you can.
Oh, it sure did for me. Oh my gosh, it changed my life. I had never had a Reiki treatment in my life until you did Reiki on me that day. And it literally, and I it was the timing. It was 8/8 Lionsgate, and then the Reiki treatment, and I everything, literally the proverbial, the shift happened, and everything opened the doors, and then the 11th, 8/11 happened. Okay, which, that's the doors to the universe. And we had the new moon, and the new moon energy was still, going through that. And then, oh my gosh. And then it was boom, 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 boom. And it's been like that. And it's been, I have another question for you, because I'm going through the same thing, but I want to make sure, just for the audience purposes, just so that we kind of can be clear about this. Do you find yourself setting aside relationships now that no longer fit the work? Not in a negative way, but it's like not part of who you are today. And no matter how hard I know that I try to get into that place of where I was before, I'm not there anymore, and I'm never going back, and I know that. And at the risk of anybody being butthurt with what I'm saying, my life is not the same as it was over a year ago, and I know that yours isn't either, obviously. But do you have to, are you finding that you're having to, it's not that you're going to lose friendships or burn bridges, but from a business perspective and even a personal perspective, that you're having to get other things that you were doing in the past behind you now? Are you finding that now?
I think yes. And what happens is, this is something else that I was just explaining, is to someone who was struggling with that. One of my Reiki clients came in, and I said, I've been disconnected from third dimensional conversations and like happy hours, chicken wings, let's go get a beer. Like, I haven't done that in so long. So I don't even know what that is. And I've created such an advancement in conversations that unless there's conversations to be had, it's harder for me to be a part of them. So I have actually no longer have immediate friendships. Like, I love them from a distance, but they're not energetically in my field anymore. And I hope that they ascend. But like I explained to this client of mine, I said, when you come to an awareness of where you are and you anchor in that frequency, you no longer go down. People have to come up to where you are to be in your life. And then if it doesn't work, you still ascend. So the reason that we're no longer with these relationships isn't because energetically it's a frequency. And we once it's anchored in, we cannot dip down.
Yeah.
That's why it feels like they're gone, or they just don't fit in, or they're not here. You know, I was telling my mom, I said, I have this friend who keeps, from an ego point of view, wanting me to respond back to this person. And they keep sending me texts, and it's because I'm not responding that their ego's hurt, and they're wanting to know why I'm not. The reason I'm not is because I know energetically that this person is an ego-based relationship that really wasn't meaningful. And after Dakota's transition and being anchored in, I just can't, because I saw clearly that this relationship was an energetic one-way highway.
Yeah.
One-way highway.
Draining.
I know.
So draining. Yeah.
And so, but then here's the thing. Ego would respond to ego. Like, you know, I could tell him, I can't be your friend, I can't do this. It's only going to feed the ego.
Right.
So sometimes we always thought we had to tell these people.
Right.
You know, all that does is a place from ego. You don't necessarily have to respond.
Right.
If energy highway isn't warranting it.
That's
you
right.
could block them, you could do whatever, but you don't. But sometimes we come from a culture where you always have to do, you have to answer, you have to pass date. That was the word I used. We have to pass date people, but we don't anymore. And then what happens is people like you come in at that divine timing when you are so surrendered into purpose and anchoring in your divinity, then people magically appear that are on the same frequency level. And they just appear as if like from the ether. And they just drop in, and then all of a sudden there's things that are like a triple, like a ripple effect.
It is.
That's why those people that were there before, it's kind of I posted something on Facebook. I said, isn't it an interesting thing that through mine happened to be grief, people, places, and things no longer matter. And it's not like we meant for any of that to happen.
I know.
That's is a tune in, and you're just like, I love you, but I just can't. And you want to keep saying, why are you not feeding my ego? Well, because I'm not ego based. You know what happened to my ego? Yeah. My ego was shattered with a phone call. I posted that the other day. My ego was shattered with a phone call. And then I was like, enlightenment. Swallowed lifetimes in one gulp. When you allow complete ego shatteredness, then enlightenment pursues all the lifetimes leading up to that moment that alchemizes, what can I do with this now? And that is a brilliance that people should be aware of, that we're living in and can embody in this lifetime.
Yes.
But yeah.
Very well said. Very well said. I can only hope a million people can see your message and really, really see that the truth in that. Because I think the ego, you know, I've operated out of ego for many, many years. And I have a sign on my door right over there. It says, when walking and entering this space, leave your ego at the door. And it is a constant reminder that no matter what you're doing, whether you're in negotiations or going through a bad time or having an argument with your spouse, or you're in a bad mood or whatever, because sometimes anger is out of ego, because we're not getting our way. And you know where I'm going with this. And so, you know, and it doesn't matter who we're dealing with, we have to strip ourselves of our ego, because our ego can get in the way. Now, I'm not saying that having a healthy ego isn't a good thing. We need to sometimes have that, but not to have ego rule us, because ego likes to keep us in that safe zone, not grow, not be, not do. And for that, you know, we have to remember, we have to alchemize through that. If our ego is ruling us, we must, you know, really take a long, hard look at ourselves and do the work that's necessary in order to become more spiritually aware and ascend into the dimensions that we need to moving forward, and get out of the, you know, the third, we're gonna be in the third dimension no matter what, but start getting ourselves into that space of the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 10th, and 12th dimensions, especially with the light workers, where we're doing, because otherwise, you know, we're not going to be able to alchemize the energy of the entire earth, which I'm sure you're going through with what you're doing with this earth alchemization, you know, project you're doing right now. And I couldn't agree with you more, because it is I know that what for me in my work, what's happening now is I'm so grateful, and I don't even know how to say this, but it has helped me become a better person with my clients. It has helped me be able to have more empathy. I have had empathy, don't misunderstand me, but the understanding the pain, but not really feeling it, because when as light workers and empaths, it's very hard not to feel someone else's pain. And we have to remember that that pain belongs to that person, not us. On the flip side of that, when we're working in the energy of alchemization of whatever it is that we're going through, the density of, in my case, managing this lawsuit, to all of the other things that are going on, and also this case with Donovan and finding, Allie's body and all of the other stuff, the alchemization of that, we have to remember that ego does not belong in that space whatsoever. We, stripping ourselves down of that has to happen, because otherwise, when ego rules, we don't give ourselves permission to work spiritually, and spirit cannot work through the ego, because the ego is the what? Brick wall that we put ourselves in. And we have these belief systems that we form around us that are the brick walls, and we can't move. And we wonder, why isn't this happening right now? Why isn't this happening? Instead of saying, why is my life so beautiful right now? Why am I making so much money? Why is my bank accounts overflowing with money? Because once you get past that space and you start alchemizing, why do I feel so beautiful? Why am I in such great shape? Why is my health so fabulous? Why am I so happy? Why do I feel filled with joy? Once you get past that space, then everything just manifests. It has to manifest, because you're bringing in that energy from those dimensions that need to happen in your life, and you finally open the door. And I think the big message between both of us is put yourself in the place where the doors can be opened.
Yeah, I agree. That's so beautiful. Thank you. That was so beautiful. And I was getting this image of, we do, and you picked up on the same thing I was thinking, is people think that this is a brick wall that they hit or that slammed them, because a lot of people are, this happened to me.
Right.
I'm just experiencing Dakota's life with him.
Yes.
You see how beautiful that is? It's like, I'm allowing him everything that is, that free will of it being played out for whatever is outside of me. Can you even accept that? Can you? Yes. It's a big question. And it's like, okay, start with yes. Acceptance in the grief process is the last thing you get to. No, it's the first thing after that phone call comes. You accept a portion of the story. Start with at least being open enough to just see what this is all about. Now you're not outside the judgment. You have created a wall.
Be present.
Be present.
Be present.
And the great thing is it does that for you. The thing that it turns on every cell inside your human body is like wide open. It's like someone just peeled off of like the top layer of whatever might have been there. It's gone. It's just like stripped off, and you're like, wait a second. And from that place, if you just hold space or just have a bit of acceptance to just let the story be and let it unfold and be present in the story, you've already done a huge step, because then you're part of the alchemy that's going to unfold, because the alchemy is right there. Now, about the wall, I got sidetracked. The wall, I was thinking, how much light wants to come in? And if there's even a crack of like, I was spiritual, there's a little crack of light coming in, because you've been a spiritual person leading up to this. You didn't build the wall completely. You kind of left some grout lines where some light can get in. But even that, it's like a flower will still grow up in black pavement where there is nothing for it to, and it'll find ground and it'll come up.
Yes.
And rock.
Yes.
And so when you realize the highest version is there is no wall.
Yeah.
And then, but if you can just get the crack of light in or the flower to pop up, we can start with people there, but you can go wide open. There is no wall. You're going through it. And when you think that, so then the level is you can have a garden out front of you, a bunch of blooms. But then the crazy thing about the universe is it's even more than that. No matter how much you expand, there's always more. And how you access the more is by constantly being open from above to the heart. Always be open, because right when you think it's good, it gets better. Like it gets better. It just, you lean into it more, especially those things. My message is that Dakota's transition, I am leaning into it blindly and full-heartedly, and it's becoming a beautiful story that could have been written differently had I just been consumed by pain.
Oh, okay. So now you just open up a door for me. So my message is, with the schizophrenia and sweeping it under the rug for all of these years, in some ways, I feel, and this is my issue, I did a disservice to Donovan, but the truth is, did I? Because I was involved with the doctors, I was involved with the psychiatrists, I was involved with the state hospital, I was involved with Donovan. It was always a constant talk therapy with him, because, you know, someone with schizophrenia constantly sees things and talks and has things, people, talking. It's not about hallucinations. Schizophrenia is not a disease. It is not a disease. And so dealing with Donovan all of those years, did I really do a disservice to him? And then I realized that's my message, because Donovan and where he landed himself is because he got lost in the system, because the medical society and the psychological society and the psychiatric society did not know, and still does not know, how to deal with schizophrenia. That's my message. Would Donovan had committed the murder? I don't know. If I would have allowed Donovan to be adopted, would he have committed the murder? I don't know. We don't know. Everybody's fate is how everybody's fate is. We don't know these things. These are unanswered questions. But what I do know, like you said earlier, there is free will. There are choices. And also too, are you still there, Julie? Oh, yeah. There was a victim there. He was a victim of outside influence with the methamphetamines, and not receiving the help that he needed. And so all of that plays a role. And could have Donovan been a different person? Absolutely. But sometimes outside influence does not, I mean, outside influence affects everybody's life. Outside influence affects you. Outside influence affects me. And as long as we're walking in that spiritual realm and we are mindful of the outside influences, we have this sacred space that permeates 20 feet or 23 or 50 feet outside of us, that will not allow outside influence to permeate us, because we have a mission to do the spiritual light work that we need to do. And many people don't understand the importance of having that spiritual connection in order to have that distancing of outside influence, because we all have belief systems that we grew up with. We have all belief systems that we were taught, and it's like this. One of my most favorite things in the whole world, when I was working with Lisa Nichols, and I don't know if you know who Lisa Nichols is, but she is a coach, and she's a magnificent coach. And I went to one of her seminars in San Diego, and I'm saying this out loud because it needs to be said. When we learn a belief system and we're taught it, it's a cover, it's a blanket. We put it on, it's a piece of clothing. And then we carry that belief system with us, whether it's the truth or not. And we still work within that belief system, whether or not it fits us or not. and then all of a sudden things aren't working out for us. But psychologically, we don't know that it's because of that belief system that we were taught by our aunt, our uncle, our grandfather, our ancestors, carried on from a past lifetime, whatever, our parents, our mother, our father, our brother, our sister, whatever. Okay. And we put this layer of clothing on us that, constantly, and then before we know it, there's our brick wall we've built around it because of these belief systems that we've been taught, religion, whatever it is. Okay. When we come to the place of growth in our spiritual walk with the universe, God, with Yahweh, whatever you want to believe, it is a spiritual walk. Whatever path leads to God is the path you need to walk. Whatever your belief system is in that respect, don't turn it down. When you get to that place, you have to start unbuttoning that layer of clothing that no longer serves you in this life today, because that belief system is exactly what's hindering you with where you need to be in the spiritual realm of the dimensions that we're having to go so quickly into. And that's when you become the spiritual light that you need to be for whatever it is that you're supposed to do, and you find the purpose of what you are supposed to do, because then spirit comes through you and brings you those people right now. And once people can understand that those belief systems are the brick wall and it's a piece of clothing that you can get rid of, you're going to be in a better place for it so much faster than you ever imagined. Do you hear me? Because that's the truth. It is the truth.
And what it is so true. Your clothing and taking those off, I've been saying we need to deconstruct all these layers of belief systems. We're living in a time, the Aquarian age is construction and deconstruction. We're in the Aquarius age. So we're to deconstruct all these limiting beliefs. They're limiting beliefs. People like to ask me, well, Julie, these are my belief systems. Okay. Do they limit you or do they expand you? If they limit you, you need to take it off.
Exactly.
If they limit you, you need to take it off.
And get rid of it. Burn that crap.
That is correct. Take it off and keep walking. Don't worry.
Right.
Just keep going forward.
That's right.
And the one thing I wanted to say is that Dakota, he was taking drugs and he died of a counterfeit drug, but he was also into drugs and doing drugs, and I couldn't save him. I didn't even know. He was hiding it with shame and guilt and keeping it from me. And that's his story. But the one thing that, like you said, you were saying whether or not it was fake, could things have changed? Had I not bought the property, would he have not been in the apartment? There's all of these what ifs, right? And they all could have played out. Yes. But the one that is playing out is the fact that this is also ties back to the bigger purpose is we are consciously aware of the situations of our direct children. Yes. And collectively, by being the light workers, by anchoring the stories, the platform, the work, we are transmuting all of the energy around the decision that Dakota or Donovan made. So imagine if there's dark entities at work that are rippling out confusion, pain, like horrible outcomes.
And attaching themselves to the person.
Yeah. And because of what we're doing, we're mitigating the ripple effects from that choice.
Absolutely.
And because of what we're doing, we're mitigating the ripple effects from that choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now,
and I am honored to be able to have that job.
It's very beautiful. Very beautiful. And that is not victimhood. That is it. That is changing. That's working on a humanity level. And when you're working on a humanity level and you're transmuting the greater work around what could have been handed to you, and you could still be stuck in this happened to me, I can't do anything.
Yes.
I got to go through the rest of my life being miserable because of this. You're transmuting for the collective. Yes. Isn't that crazy? And the karmic patterns tied to a choice made from free will.
Absolutely.
That's what the light is doing. That's the purpose of the light. That's the purpose of the light workers, is to transmute and mitigate all the ripple effects of karma, because karma needs to stop. We're not even in a time of karma. We're living out the anchoring of the light. Like, I don't really think that I'm going to be coming back to relearn life lessons on some level. If I do, fine, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But this
I feel the same way, Julie.
this level of work is ascension. That means you go up from here. You don't come back into 3D to live out a life to see what it's like to be the child that died. I think all of that work has been had.
Yeah.
I think now ascension is consciously aware that karma is an outdated pattern, that the ripple effect mitigates the karmic choices, the karmic ripple of that person's life, because you're directly changing the outcome of Donovan's. You're almost like, it's almost like putting a color stick into water and watching it ripple out. You're doing it with the blues and the iridescence, and it's like almost negative energy of what could just be portrayed as a tragedy. It is a tragedy in 3D, and it's horrible. And we have to go through that in our human body. Yes. But what we're doing energetically and on the bigger collective of even just talking about schizophrenia as a whole, that's attacking an energy. That's rewriting an energy.
Yes.
That's a big thing. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? And you know what? There was a meme that come across the other day, and I started laughing. And I've seen it 100 times, but it really hit home with me. It was like, and it's going to be paraphrased, but it's like when I get up in the morning, the devil better watch out, because I'm putting my shoes on, and this is an energy that you just don't want to fuck with, because I'm going to go out there. And I mean that. I'm going to go out there, and it's just about the presence, because I know where I stand. I know where I am spiritually, and the mere presence and the work of anybody that wants to come into this space of mine. Be prepared to do some deep diving, because this girl ain't shallow. You're not shallow. It's not time for shallow work anymore. We've got to do the deep diving, peel the onion skin off, knock the complaining off, get down to work, and let's get this ascension going, because every person that does the ascending is alchemizing that negative energy and getting to that one point that you just made about the alchemization of karmic value. I agree with you that karmic value, I think it's still present, and I think it's alchemizing. I think the big thing that's happening with people who are ascending and getting into that space right now is because we are the strong ones that are severing the Akashic records from our ancestors that are begging us to please cut the Akashic records, because we don't want to come back to this anymore, because in Akashic records and we keep reliving, our families still keep coming back in lifetimes over and over again, because the work still has to be done. And we're in a place right now where we can ascend so quickly and do the work that we don't have to come back, and therefore we're severing those Akashic records. So all the souls in the past that have been hurt, that have been full of pain and anguish and anxiety and all of the things that are going on in that fourth dimension atmosphere, is being alchemized to never come back again, because that's all part of the reptilian era, right? And I believe that strongly. I think that light workers have to remember that as we ascend permanently, because it is a permanent thing, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
It's a permanent thing. And on that, I think that's why when we give the message, it's like the message that somebody asked me is like, so why is it important to do the work? And my answer was, why is it not? Why even ask that question? We're not in that anymore. Like, you need to do the work.
Yeah.
You need to step into divinity.
Yeah.
We're here. The time is now.
Yeah.
So
no more excuses, no more denial.
Correct. No more long route, third dimensional. Like, if you work through this, maybe in 2 years, Julie, you might be able to laugh again.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that wanted to do the interview, he said, you hooked me because you're laughing. Actually, you're the most. And he goes, and people will look at you thinking you don't love Dakota, but it's undeniable when you're in your house. You're undeniable when you see your phone. You're undeniable. But first judgment will be you don't, because how can you move through this? Yeah. And it's because we're living in the now moment, and it's important to do the work, because the question of not doing it is just not even a valid
It's
You
not,
just,
no, it's not acceptable. And
yeah,
anybody that I'm working with right now that is in denial of that, you know, you can text me, you can call me. I'm not going to deny you as a friend, but we're not playing on the same playing field here. You know, you
yeah,
got to do the work. If you can't do the work, come back to me when you've done something. I'm here.
right.
I'm not going to walk away from you. I'm going to be here for you, but, and I can hold space for you. But at the same time, I had a recent person that came to me that basically wanted a quick fix on a particular situation. I said, it doesn't work that way. It simply doesn't work that way. You have to do the work. You can't take a pill. You can't take a jab. You can't take a shot. You can't take a whatever. You're gonna have to do that. Unbutton those belief systems and start throwing them out, you know, out the window
Yeah,
in your new convertible as you start freeing yourself and really stepping into your spiritual self to do the work that you have to do. I mean, really, it's really honestly that simple, but it's not easy. I mean, I can be the first one, I'm sure you can say too, it's not the easiest thing to do. It is not easy. It is not easy work because it's painful. It's extremely painful, but the pain stems from so much more than what we really fully understand when we are in
right.
spirit walking that and have removed the ego. The pain goes to depths of the darkness. And one of my favorite things to say when we get in those places is that embrace it, love it,
Yeah,
release it.
yes. And I always like to say, just be gentle with yourself.
And right. Yes, be gentle.
Or just hold space. Like the best thing you can do if you don't know what to do next, just hold space, and you don't need to know right now.
So
like,
many
just
people
pause.
don't know how to stop.
They don't. They want the answer. And I'm like, if you're not getting the answer, the time is not to have the answer. So just allow that too to be the answer. Like if you're not getting the answer, the time is not to have the answer. So just allow that too to be the answer. Let that too be the answer, because it will come to you.
So let's reiterate that. So if you don't have the answer right now, maybe that's the answer. And maybe it's time to just hold space for the fact that there is no answer right now. It doesn't mean there's not going to come one, but we're all being tested in that area. And sometimes we just have to plain out flat stop, unplug, get rid of all of the outside influence and tune in, tap in and turn on, as Abraham Hicks says. And
that is correct.
Themselves. Yes. Yeah.
And the reason that when you want an answer, it comes back to this. This is really important. We need to learn to trust right now. The truth is there. So when you're asking and you know that you do get answers and you know what is truth when you receive it, and you're not getting an answer, then you know it's not there yet. So that's where that helps people discern. So when you have divinity, when you know truth and you can ask a question and then know what the truth is revealed, then when you're asking a question and you're not getting it, then it's asking you to trust, because then you also know when you're in truth. And like you said, it's important right now that we know truth, because truth is truth. I posted it today. And the great thing about truth is asking, you shall receive. Go within and the answer is there. The kingdom is within. Then you share it outside with everything. But people need to, like I was telling my mom, you know, in the times of confusion, the best thing you can do right now is to make sure you know your platform. Do you know yourself? Do you know how to know truth when you get it? Yeah. And if you do, then you can always trust those answers. And sometimes it's wavering, but it's in the wavering that you're like, wait a second, I don't have truth, because truth will always show up and the answer will always be given. And so
that's part of trusting yourself too, because if you see the truth and you don't trust yourself to act on it, and then you don't, and then you trip over yourself, then you know, oh, wait a minute, I have the truth, and look where I'm sitting today. I had the answer, but I didn't act on it. And now look what happened to me now.
And that's wisdom. That's wisdom. Wisdom is another great thing that comes from those kind of experiences. You get wisdom and you're like, aha.
Yeah, you get your aha moments. Yes.
Yeah. You're like, I just learned. I just learned that. So then you have the wisdom, the wisdom helps. One, when you have the wisdom and you're solid in your truth, then you can help other people remember their truth.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't think necessarily that we're teachers, but we're helping others remember what they already know, what they're already stepping into.
Bringing it forward. Yes.
We're just helping them remember. It's like, you're doing all the work. I'm just here to help you see it. Yeah. I'm holding your highest divinity with you, so you're more apt to see it as well, because I love that. Like that.
Yeah, the highest divinity. I love it. And it goes back to what I like to say is that always remember, I will always keep your highest and best good at the forefront of anything that I say and do. And you may not like what I say and do, but you're not paying me to tell you a lie. I can only give you the truth. And as I see it, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. It's either going to fit or it's not going to fit. And you don't have to talk to me again if you don't want to. I'm okay with that. There's many other people who do want to talk to me, and I'm okay with that too. I don't care. You can shut the door in my face. I don't care, because my message isn't going to resonate with you anyway, because we're not walking on the same dimension. And I know that you feel the same way about that too. Now,
yeah, that's very Buddhist. You know, Buddha was like, the light in me acknowledges the light in you. I'm walking my path. You too can be a Buddha. So that's just like, his energy was so beautiful, and I've always resonated with it because it's a personal experience, casting light that people are gleaning from it. And it's not saying I'm going to do it for you. It's not, I just want you, like, if you see something in me, you're seeing the reflection of you. You're seeing your highest potential in my reflection. Yeah. That's why it's so beautiful.
It is beautiful. Buddha, and when I'm at your house, and when I'm at your house, all the beautiful Buddhas everywhere remind me of that, because it's like walking into spiritual zen zone. Oh my God. And you like the one-on-one work too. You really enjoy working with people individually. I think that's one of the biggest strengths that you have. Because, Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. I love the one-on-one too. And I mean, this interview right now with both of us, which we didn't know was going to end up being an interview, kind of like what we're doing right now, that one-on-one intimacy that we can share with the world is what is so important, because people can share this video with their viewpoints and their world too, because that's going to be getting the message out, because it's all quantum physics and quantum universe at this point.
I know. And a lot of what's really interesting is everything I'm doing, Dakota's doing on another level, spiritual. It's like interdimensional in that sense, which is really cool. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that as my work develops. Is he's connecting people in the spirit realm that connect people to me, and it's so interesting, because I'm like, wow, this is really happening. Like, usually the people, like, a couple of people have come into my life, and then their child has passed because of a drug that their child met Dakota that brought them to me. Yeah, I have two mothers right now that their son met Dakota, and their mothers followed me, and it's like this interconnectedness, and I'm just like that. So that's exciting, because I don't know what that is and how that's going to play out, but how cool is that?
It is very cool. And
Dakota is tied in on some other realm, at least tapping into what's still going here on Earth. Yeah. And because I'm open to it, he's able to, which they're all up there wanting probably to pull for humanity and to make difference.
You know that.
But people are just like,
over there in that realm right there. They're walking with us all the time. You know that.
Yeah. And so they're pulling for us here. And so, but so many people are just so linear thinking, like, this is my sign. I got a bird. That means it for me. But what if they're really trying to, like, get their attention on something?
Yes, exactly.
Like, just be open to it. You're
just listen. It's just about listening. And, also too, do you find that when you're talking with people, because I find this, so many people have a difficult time just sitting in quiet space and letting the energy come through. And if in your parting words, can you describe how simple it is just to sit in your own space when you have trauma, and why it's so valuable to be able to find that sacred space?
Yeah, so when you just drop in, and you just close your eyes and you just breathe, and you're just with the moment without judging it, and you're just with it, in all of its capacity. And you can just let the experience be experienced without figuring it out. And then you will drop into this place, which is the void. And in the void is the interdimensional grace and love that you will expand on, that will touch your life in so many ways. And it'll play out subtly, but I guarantee, no matter who you are, how busy you are, if you could just close your eyes and drop in and just be, and you will be surrounded and met with such an immense capacity of love that you will have wondered why you don't take more time. Why you don't a little bit more each time to drop in just a little bit more, because it's being bathed on that essence of remembering that gives you the strength to be in this flesh and bone body doing what it is that we're doing.
I have to do that several times a day. I was in a discussion, and I want you to know that when that was over with, I was drained of energy, and because there was a lot that had to be discussed. And the thing is that when we find ourselves in a very stressful situation, or something that has to, be, where you have to be 100% present, we have to give everything of us in that moment, and we have to be present. We can't let our cell phones rule us. We can't let outside influence. We have to be 100% present to fully grasp and understand everything. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a meeting or whether we're having this conversation one-on-one or whatever it is we're doing. When we're multitasking, we're not 100% present. And I find that if we can just, all of us, and I say this for myself, but I hope that this message can get through, is take the time and just be in the moment and unwind from that stressful moment. Go out in nature, take a walk, go breathe, go stand by a tree, go work in your garden, go pet your animals. In my case, go pick up a chicken. and whatever it takes, love on you. Love you, because you just did something magnificent. We forget that we're so busy doing work for others that we can actually love ourselves. And back in the old days, in the old school, loving us was like one of those things, oh, you're so vain and you're so, you're so selfish and all that. And why do we have so many people that are obese and do so much for other people and are rug mats for so many of their family members? Is because we stopped loving ourselves. And if there's any message that you and I can both exude as in anybody that's in the ascension, is stop and love who you are, and respect you, and respect your time, and love you, because you've got more work to do. You can't not take care of yourself. You have to take care of who you are to do the work.
Yeah.
Right?
You do.
And it's hard sometimes. It is. We get caught up.
And it's hard, but then as a light worker, you're just going to get that headache. You're going to hit that. You're going to be like, I'm out. I can't do, like, when I get to that point, I just am like, I've got to go. I've got to get myself. I've got to have my time out. I got to recharge my batteries, because I am fully on full openness, just in just beaming in all directions. And so like, I just have to and if I don't, like you said, if I don't, I'm like, I think I was telling you, I was like, I got like an actual headache with like visual stimulation. Like I was like, whoa, I'm seeing lights, thunder and lightning and like all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is intense.
That's what happened.
But I was fully open.
Yeah.
I was fully open during that 8/8 portal and during those days. And I was just like, yes. And every part of me was saying
delicious,
yes.
Wasn't it?
Oh my gosh, it was so delicious. And I think some of the next things we can talk about are some of the things to come, some of the real the downloads we're getting from Spirit on our next talk.
Yeah,
because there's some stuff coming in 12th month, the 12 archetypes. Like there's a number 12 coming on, and there's a whole nother code system about ready to be released. We both have truth in our son's stories that were playing out, that we might have looked through rose-colored glasses, but then when we really met truth, boy, that's it's there regardless. It's just whether or not you want to bow and say, hello, truth. I see you, I respect you, and I let you be your sound platform that is in this world. And that's a big one. I think people are skirting around what they believe to be true, or repeating what they think is truth, but it's really not their truth,
I have to agree with you, because when I started peeling away the onion skin for myself with this whole thing with the schizophrenia, I had to really look at the truth. And, time is the teller of all tales. That's my most favorite saying in the whole world. The truth will always reveal itself. It doesn't matter what kind of lies and what kind of murkiness and what kind of jello and density you have to walk through. Over time, it could take 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years down the road. No matter what, in my lifetime, I have seen it happen over and over again. Time is the teller of all tales. And when we talk about the journey, we all have the ability to know our truth, but we gloss it over. And I glossed over schizophrenia. I really did, because there were times it was just so difficult to deal with Donovan in his lifetime. I mean, oh my God, just put me out of my misery. I used to say, just put me out of my misery now. I can't deal with this anymore, because the energy of a schizophrenic and talk therapy just sucks you dry. They just take everything, and there's nothing to give back. It's constant pulling of energy from oneself. And as a mother, of course, we love our children no matter how horrible they are. Yes, I still love Donovan despite what he's done. He's still my son. I don't love what he did. He was absolutely wrong what he did, but I still love my son, and I approach him still with love. How can any of us heal despite the crimes or anything that commits if we don't approach the situation with love? How can anyone heal from that? And as mothers who may hate our children, and I say this to any mother that's listening, please love your children no matter what they've done. You don't have to accept them, and you don't have to feed it. And that's what boundaries are all about. And sometimes when we have kids that pull on those boundaries, you have to put your foot down, and you have to be the hardcore love mom. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It really doesn't. And you never should ever feel guilty about that, It is what it is. And I know that I hate that saying, but it is the truth in some ways, And so, yeah. So, Julie, I love you so much. And let's continue this journey. And you have just opened my eyes to so many things. And I know we equally have that deep, deep respect for each other. And
for the collective greater good of every sovereign being, man, woman, and child, that it will benefit with no other intention, other than to do it for the collective greater good.
Yeah, let's be the light, and let's shine our light, and let's raise awareness to the difficulties that are out there that can be alchemized and changed just through the knowledge of what we're going through. And hopefully there will be other moms that will step up to the plate that will be there and will do the same thing. And that's what I hope for, because I think moms right now and women are the most powerful being out there right now. And the feminine energy is rising. And I know I feel it. And I'm 60 years old. I'm telling you, I feel it.
And you know what?
I'm in my Saturn return too.
I know. I think I am too.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. That's what's just so crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this morning on the illumination, it was all about the mother energy, all about the female archetype.
Yeah.
I know. I was in the purple flame, and I was just like, and Dakota had I think I'll say it again, but Dakota had channeled that, that the feminine energy is it's important for the male energy, but it's to transmute the toxicity that's out there. It really is.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but and the great thing is we will not need to figure out what content, it's where to start. Because
that's so right. Many. We just did it. We just started. It was just by accident.
I know. So it's not even like a matter of having to figure it out. It's just like, okay, we'll take. This one was all about alchemy. We know the process. I mean, look how easy that came.
It is, because it flows, because it's the truth. It's the truth of what we're doing right now. And, I did my own chakra reading today, and my root chakra was saying, ground yourself in the truth. Ground yourself in the truth.
And I put it on Facebook today. The truth is the truth. Walk your truth, speak your truth, know the truth.
Right, so, that's right. See where we're at. And today's the 15th, so August 15th, 8/15 of 21. Well,
so it happens to be the day. It happens to be the day also that just collectively the world put in the religion of, I want to say the Catholic religion. This is the day that they announced that now forgive me, I'm not super Catholic, but the day that they canonized Mother Mary, the mother of Christ, into like sainthood or ascended. It happened
as an ascended master. Yeah. Virgin Mary.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting enough with just another collective honoring her role in the world.
I think today is also the anniversary of the country of India in Hinduism.
I love East. They're so advanced on the eastern part around death, anyways.
Yeah. I know.
And some of the, so there's some. So all that collective that happened, whether it was tainted or misconstrued, there's still a beauty in something that happened on that day. Yeah, there's still a beauty around the mother of God, and when she beheld her son, and that rings in this commonality that you and I share much, and everyone else is going to listen to this. So it's all divinely orchestrated. It's all divinely orchestrated, streamed together beautifully in this golden thread of connectedness. It's just it's unbelievable.
When I was going through an awful divorce many years ago, and I really connected with the Virgin Mary to bring myself back to the Christ spirit many years ago, because there was such an abuse and lack of self-esteem and all of the things that were going on at that particular time in my life, in my 40s, I would say, more than 20, maybe 30 years ago. And one of the things about that is that I think sometimes when people are having such a hard time finding where do I go for spirituality, go to your roots. Go what makes you feel good. Spirituality comes from within and shows without. Not without being without, but shows without. It's coming without. And you have to find that place, that sacred space within your heart center to whatever your belief system is. Sometimes you got to unbutton all those old religious and religiosity belief systems to be able to find a place where whatever you believe in is what you believe in. It doesn't mean just because you don't go to church every Sunday or whatever the old belief system was that you grew up with is just because you're feeling that doesn't mean that you're not adhering to your spirituality. I think spirituality got lost in religiosity, and that's that thing, which is why religions fail so much, because you follow the leader, you don't follow God. You see, what if the leader is a bad person? What then? right?
Yeah.
So we have to remember these little things. And so if you have an energy filled with Kuan Yin, or you have an energy that you resound with the Virgin Mary, or Ganesha,
Yes.
consciousness,
Any
consciousness that works, when we get with that consciousness that we feel comfortable with, then let's roll with that. Let's find that center. Let's take the time to meditate. Does this feel right? And if the answer is yes, then embrace it, love it, and then release that negative energy about anything else, and just start walking in that path to increase your ascension, because we all have to have something to believe in. We can't embrace a physical being of what we were taught that what Jesus and God looked like, because it's all about quantum energy. Okay, we have you see.
And that quantum energy, why not have the company of heaven? Because that has room for Kuan Yin, for Buddha, for Christ consciousness, for Mary Magdalene.
Yes.
Why not have the company?
Yes. Exactly.
And if you know, when my world has been open to being able to use the spirits, the ascended masters, the light beings, then I'm tapping into that collective, that idea. So people want it. That's why I'm saying it goes back to limiting again. Like, if you want to limit, I can only go this route. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's very narrow. It's very narrow. When you can have the company, and you can have Kuan Yin embody you and give you wisdom, and embrace that pearl essence that she brings at that moment that you're open to it. I mean, Mary answered the phone in the dream with Dakota. I didn't have I never really spent a lot of time with Mother Mary, but she answered the cell phone in the dream. And I was like, and then so I'm just like, you're there. And she was telling me things that I need. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Because you needed that mother energy at that moment. And that's the thing that I think we've been so lacking in the masculine energy field, and all of the things that go with that, which is another video at another time. This feminine energy, we have been so pushed away, and we're tired of it. We're just tired. You know what? We've allowed it. Now we're embracing it, and we're coming in as our light source energy. And I think all women on this planet are feeling it, and we have a responsibility to increase the alchemy and the ascension within everybody we meet. And we have
and I think you're onto something there. And it's not that it's better or not, it's just we are a direct anchor that is very powerful at this time. It's not mitigating or changing, but the ones that are embodied as female, anchoring in that direct creative womb connection to humanity is a very divine anchor that's needed at this time. So it's just very powerful. It's very powerful, and it's benevolent.
It is so benevolent and divine and loving.
And divine. Yes. And that's what the world needs.
Yes.
We just happen to be in this body, in this moment.
That's right.
Today.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Closing, what word of advice or what beautiful words would you like to give to everybody as we close down and get ready for our next video?
Follow that beacon of love. There's a beacon, it's a light, it just puts out, it permeates. Like, follow that this week. Just love a little bit more. Open a little more and follow where it leads you. Yes.
And my words of wisdom would be, take time and sit in space, even if it's for 2 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes, 1 minute at a time. Listen to what comes to you from your higher self. And if it's a limiting belief that doesn't fit you anymore at that very moment, just unbutton it and take it off and throw it away. Just that one, and start doing that one day at a time. And by the end of the week, when we get ready to have another meeting again, by the time we reach, maybe some of you have unbuttoned 5 belief systems that no longer serve you anymore. That would be what I would say to go away with.
I agree. That's beautiful. I will do just that.
There you go. And we're all in this together. Okay.